Have you ever felt that the deeper you question and understand the world, the less you resemble those around you? That every increase in your ability to see beyond appearances seems to widen the gap between you and society? Many believe that deep thinking is admirable, yet few are prepared for the discomfort and solitude this path brings. There's a paradox at play here. Intelligence, regarded as one of humankind's greatest gifts, can become a secret passage to an inevitable isolation. Perhaps at some moment you concluded that seeing the world through your own eyes is almost a sentence of exile. It's not merely a personal problem nor an accident. The world has always felt uneasy around those who think differently. How many times, when trying to share a sharper insight, have you noticed people quickly changing the subject, lapsing into silence, or giving you that look that says they're hoping the conversation ends soon? It's no exaggeration to say that humanity, though it praises genius in theory, tends to repel, marginalize, and even attack it when it appears as a living threat. Since the dawn of civilization, restless, innovative, and deep minds have been viewed as unsettling. Think of the great names in philosophy, science, art. Socrates was condemned to death, Galileo silenced and monitored, Nietzsche dismissed as mad, Tesla died alone and poor. It wasn't lack of intelligence or relevance. What set them apart were ideas that clashed with shared beliefs, questioned accepted rules, destabilized comfort zones, and forced society to confront what it would much rather ignore. Schopenhauer, known for his brutal honesty, said true thinking is almost a curse. To him, extraordinary lucidity is a sort of torment because it isolates those who see too much. Behind his idea looms an uncomfortable truth. The social structure of humanity is built not on the pursuit of truth, but on the need for predictability and cohesion. Anyone who upsets the order, even with a simple question, becomes a threat, even if history later celebrates this person as a genius. What drives this discomfort with those who think differently? The root is as much psychological as it is instinctual. When faced with someone physically strong, most people react with admiration. A millionaire may stir admiration or even envy, but there's generally only a material distance. However, someone who thinks well above average affects people differently. It's as though their presence threatens your very identity. Psychologists call this the mirror effect, because the deep thinker, often without meaning to, exposes everyone else's limitations and contradictions. Rejection of those who see beyond can be subtle or explicit. Take your own environment. Try steering the conversation toward deeper topics in casual company, and you will notice people fall silent, shift topics, joke, or even react with hostility. Underneath it all is a fear of facing doubts that require leaving the comfort zone. We defend our established beliefs because questioning those beliefs threatens our sense of safety. The explanation lies in the way the human brain evolved. For thousands of years, survival depended on the group, and fitting in meant survival. It wasn't necessary to be the brightest, just accepted by the tribe. The deviant faced risk. Thus, questioning too much was seen as dangerous. Biologically, we are programmed for harmony, not intellectual conflict. That's why thinking differently often leads to at least some degree of rejection. In social situations, strength or wealth are external factors. Intelligence, however, touches something deeper, our sense of value and identity. The out-of-the-box thinker, even while silent, makes others feel they might be missing something crucial, and few ever forgive those who force them to confront self-limitations. This is why people tend to prefer easy humor, distractions, or trivial conversations. By keeping things superficial, we avoid the risk of self-confrontation. Psychological phenomena further intensify this reaction. The Dunning-Kruger effect, for example, causes people with less cognitive ability to overestimate themselves, while the truly intelligent often self-sabotage. Confirmation bias leads people to select only information that supports their existing views. The backfire effect shows that, when faced with facts that contradict their beliefs, people often cling even harder to their original views, making meaningful discussion even harder. The result is a vicious cycle. In a society where questioning is risky, ignorance becomes a means of protection. The group closes ranks, marginalizing whoever provokes discomfort, so the pursuit of truth turns into a lonely journey. This isn't just a small-scale dynamic. Observe how crowds always rally against truly new ideas, whether in politics, science, or culture. This resistance extends beyond personal spheres. Look at schools and workplaces. Educational systems claim to value critical thinking, but in practice reward obedience and memorization. Companies value those who preserve the status quo more than the innovative ones. In politics, it's always the most comfortable or obvious message that captures the crowds. Those who complicate, deepen, or defy conventions hardly ever win. In the digital era, all this has only intensified. Social media algorithms prioritize speed, emotional engagement, and shallow controversy, never the deep or authentic reflection. Rarely does a serious argument go viral. We live in a culture that transforms every message into entertainment, always favoring quantity over quality of thought. What's the practical outcome of all this? Deep intelligence has become a warning sign. The old "they laughed at me" is no longer just a metaphor. It is the norm. Questioning things today means facing armies of people ready to defend their fragile certainties with aggression. Simply seeing what others prefer to ignore is enough to make yourself a target for mockery, hostility, or alienation. However, the fate of thinkers doesn't have to be tragic. There are ways to remain authentic, even amid adversity. The first step is recognizing your own value. The discomfort and rejection you provoke comes not because you are difficult or arrogant, but because you've touched on a discomfort others avoid. Rather than fighting the system nonstop, focus your energy on finding spaces and people genuinely willing to listen and grow within the discomfort of doubt. Great ideas usually arise in small places, in private conversations, select circles, close groups. Don't waste energy trying to sway blind crowds. The value lies in cultivating dialogue with those who appreciate the challenge of thinking. Learn to calibrate your depth, seek allies, retreat when the environment is hostile, and avoid exhausting yourself trying to wake those who chose to sleep. Despite this environment of rejection, there is fulfillment and even joy along the independent thinking path. Schopenhauer argued that solitude is not a punishment for those with a sharp gaze, but a refuge. Solitude allows more genuine reflection, greater freedom to create, to learn, to dive within oneself, and to ignore collective standards. When used wisely, that social distance can become an advantage. True evolution springs from those on the edges, never from the center of comfort. It's important, too, to develop strong communication skills. Intelligence isn't about being incomprehensible. The ability to transmit complex ideas clearly is one of the greatest arts. As Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Learn to translate your depth into accessible language without losing its essence. This is what lets a great thinker actually be heard. In the end, acceptance by the crowd should never be your goal. True recognition almost always comes from history, not from contemporaries. Many were called geniuses only after their deaths, and their ideas built the foundations of new thought decades after being shunned. History is made by those who dare to think ahead, not by those content with the present. So, the isolation felt by deep thinkers is not failure. It is evidence that you are seeing something beyond the surface. The discomfort and even repulsion you invoke is proof that you have touched on what the world isn't ready or willing to face. Don't succumb to arrogance or pride, but don't swap your authenticity for hollow approval. The price is high, but the reward is unique. Inner freedom, critical vision, and from time to time, the chance to actually change the world. Now here's a challenge. Will you silence yourself to fit in and belong, or will you risk everything for rare lucidity? Will you give up your questions for subtle conversations, or will you turn your discomfort into the spark for genuine discussion, even if it is only with yourself? Share your story below. What is the highest price you've paid for refusing to accept easy answers? How have you coped with isolation for thinking too much? Let's make this space a safe trench for those who accept the discomfort of seeing beyond. Subscribe, share this with another person who dares to challenge common sense, and stay tuned. Here, questions always matter more than easy answers. After all, it's those who disturb the surface who in the end alter the currents of the ocean. Are you ready to be one of them?